50 facts you didn't know about Lord of the Rings. Spoiler alert. You ready?
Many of the scenes in the Fellowship of the Ring were set up to accomplish multiple things, as there is of course limited time in a film. One of these scenes was Merry and Pippin lighting off the dragon firework at Bilbo's birthday party, which didn't happen at all in the book. They inserted this scene into the movie as a way to lightheartedly introduce to us Merry and Pippin, while at the same time saying something about their mischievous nature, as well as providing some comic relief before things get a lot darker. Lastly,
it does explain their personalities right away perfectly.
Firework that turned into Smaug the dragon. The movie just showed it in a different way. Peter Jackson was a huge fan of storyboards and spent a massive portion of time drawing up basically every frame of the entire adventure. This allowed Peter and the crew to get a good feel for which parts worked and which didn't. That way, there was less wasted money on shoots. The storyboarding process began before the script was even finished, and Jackson described it as a cheap way to make the movie without actually making it. The production team also made an animatic with the storyboards and got local New Zealand actors to voice act the scenes to make a sort of mini comic book movie. Then, Jackson got all the cast together at his house and screened the animatic for them.
What are you doing?
Fried eggs, sausages, and nice crispy bacon.
I've saved some for you, Mr. Frodo. You idiots! Put this out!
The most difficult part of the book to adapt over to film was the prologue.
Isn't that just before he gets the Nazguls right up on him and at the top of that big tower?
Had to provide background information on the characters and setting of the story. Originally, they had Elijah Wood reading the intro, but then realized that his character had no attachment to the events described. Then, Sir Ian McKellen recorded the take, but again, the production team felt he wasn't best suited for the part.
The elf.
And finally, they landed on Cate Blanchett to narrate the prologue for two major reasons. For one, her powerful voice undoubtedly added to the epic feeling of the story, and because she plays Galadriel, having her narrate the events of the past exemplified the timelessness of the elves. Pre-visualization was another technique the team used to conceptualize certain scenes without incurring massive production costs. George Lucas and Rick McCallum, two of the pioneers of previs, provided a ton of help to the Lord of the Rings team and using this new piece of technology.
Like, here's like, this is how I envision it, dude. Make it like this. And he probably had that guy redo like the thing over and over again until it was just right. But it was all cheap and fucking blocky, so he could probably do it quick, you know? That's fucking sick.
The orc blacksmiths underneath Isengard were actually the Weta Workshop team who created all the armor and weapons for the movie. 48,000 individual
They got to be in the movie?
Were made by the department, which is insane. So it's very cool to see Jackson paying homage to those people by giving them a role in the movie.
Oh, that's sick!
In this classic scene,
if I take one more step, it'll be the farthest away from home I've ever been.
There was actually a car driving in the background in the upper right corner. This was only visible on the theatrical release as they fixed the mistake before it went to DVD. Some people argued that it was smoke from a chimney, but I think it's clear as day that there was a car and they cut it out in subsequent versions.
Wasn't what's his name wearing a watch too, or was that Photoshop?
A month prior to filming, Peter Jackson got members of the crew together to do a mock shoot of the scenes in Bag End. Peter Jackson starred as Bilbo Baggins, and I would definitely pay good money to see a whole movie shot in this fashion.
Why should I? What business is it yours anyway? It's mine. I found it. It came to me.
There's no need to get angry.
Well, I'm angry. It's your fault.
It's a little late to be gardening, Samwise Gamgee.
I heard Mr. Frodo cry out. I was worried. Please, Mr. Gandalf, don't hurt me. Don't turn me into anything unnatural.
Although it is known as the One Ring, they made around 40 different versions of it in various sizes. This allowed the production team to always have the best shot of the ring, no matter the distance it was filmed at. The largest ring seen here, named the Giga Ring, was used for the close-up shot during the prologue of the Fellowship of the Ring.
The Giga
During
Ring.
Bilbo's birthday party, when he is recounting tales of his past adventures, you can see Peter Jackson's kids, Billy and Katie. Billy was actually the only hobbit not to have to wear a wig. As Peter noted, he already had perfect hobbit hair. The scene where the hobbits hide from the Black Rider was actually filmed right in the middle of Wellington on Mount Victoria. The forest pathway is all there and exactly how it looked in the movie, but the large tree they hide under is not, as it was a prop that was created and transported to the site.
That's a fucking prop.
Quite a few animals were used to create the sounds of creatures in Lord of the Rings. Baby elephant seals were used for the sound of the Moria orcs, while uruks were much larger and more brutal, so their pain sounds were that of sea lions. While their attack noises
That's gonna
came
fuck some
from
of you guys
tigers
up.
and panthers.
Oh, that's fucking sweet.
And the wargs was actually the sound designer and a pack of dogs. Moria's meaning changes when you look at what language it is in. In ancient Greek, it means foolishness. In Italian, it's translated as a blight or the plague. In Elvish, it simply means black chasm. And in Dwarvish, it's Khazad-dûm, or House of the Dwarves. Viggo Mortensen didn't want to go anywhere without his sword. That meant he took it with him to restaurants, in the car, and I wouldn't even be surprised if he slept with it in his bed. He additionally insisted on using a real sword and not a lighter aluminum or rubber one, all for the sake of authenticity.
My guy!
So as many of you are probably aware, Sean Bean used to be terrified of flying in helicopters, and Dominic Monaghan and Billy Boyd made that fear so much worse. As the story goes, Sean did actually go up in the helicopter for their first ride, but Monaghan and Boyd, knowing about his phobia, told the pilot to show them what the helicopter could really do.
And we were saying to the guy, could you try and flip over, or could you do some banks, or how close could you get to that mountain?
That was the last helicopter Sean Bean would take while filming The Lord of the Rings, and probably for many years after.
Those fuckers.
Opting instead to take a ski lift up and then hike the final few miles, all while wearing his Boromir outfit. The Dead Marshes and the Gates of Moria were both filmed in the same location, a parking lot. Initially, Jackson considered using real marshes near Te Anau on New Zealand's South Island, but they soon discovered if you took one wrong step, you would instantly sink up to your waist, so that idea was quickly abandoned. Instead, they opted for a flooded car park that was dressed up by the art department with moss and vegetation from the real marshlands. The first appearance of Gandalf the White was made intentionally confusing. They put the eyes of Sir Christopher Lee onto the face of Sir Ian McKellen, and mixed their two voices together, all to add to the confusion.
You are tracking the footsteps of two young hobbits.
Huh.
Viggo Mortensen bought 3 horses that were used in the filming of the movies. Uraeus, or Brego, the main horse he rides in the films, Kenny, the horse he rides at the beginning of the Two Towers, and finally, he bought the white horse that Arwen rides in the Fellowship of the Ring for a stunt woman who couldn't afford it.
Aww.
Andy Serkis came up with the voice for Gollum after watching his cat cough up a furball. As you can imagine, making that sound all the time would mess your throat up bad. So to soothe the pain, Serkis would drink what he liked to call Gollum juice, a mixture of honey, lemon, and ginger. Here's some more proof that Viggo Mortensen is an absolute badass. Bob Anderson, a sword instructor who worked on various films such as Star Wars, The Princess Bride, The Mask of Zorro, and The Three Musketeers, said that Viggo was the best swordsman he'd ever trained. He also did almost all his own stunts, and currently speaks around 6 or 7 languages. In this shot, following the Battle of Helm's Deep, when Gandalf is giving his speech, if you look closely, that is not Eomer. Peter Jackson said they filmed this scene with a stand-in as Carl Urban was not available and simply forgot to digitally replace his head in post-production. The world premiere of The Return of the King was a huge event in the city of Wellington, New Zealand. Some 100,000 fans lined the streets and watched as the actors and actresses paraded down the road.
That standing lucked out. He's like, guys, that's
Peter
me!
Jackson had 3 cameos in the trilogy, one for each movie. In The Fellowship of the Ring, he appeared as Albert Drury, a man eating a carrot in the village of Bree. In The Two Towers, Jackson cameoed as a Rohan soldier during the Battle of Helm's Deep. And in the final movie, he played a Corsair of Umbar who gets killed by Legolas as a warning shot in the extended edition. Return of the King set a record for the largest clean sweep at the Oscars with 11 nominations and 11 wins. This tied the highest number of Oscars alongside Ben-Hur and Titanic. Truly amazing and something we may never see again.
I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you.
The Beatles wanted to star in a live adaptation of The Lord of the Rings, which would have seen Paul McCartney as Frodo, John Lennon playing Gollum, George Harrison as Gandalf, and Ringo Starr appearing as Sam. Their version of the film would have been a musical, and all signs pointed to them wanting Stanley Kubrick as the director. But Kubrick was skeptical about the feasibility of being able to bring The Lord of the Rings to life in the 1960s. And Tolkien was not about to let a bunch of musicians adapt his life's work. Not too surprising is that many of the cast members took home props to commemorate their time working on the films. Sir Ian McKellen took home the front door key to Bag End, which he says Peter Jackson is looking for, but will never find. Liv Tyler was able to snag her elvish ears alongside Arwen's sword. Both Elijah Wood and Andy Serkis received prop replicas of the One Ring, and Sean Astin got his hobbit feet. Over 12.5 million plastic rings were made in order to fabricate chainmail armor. 2 crew members spent the entirety of the shoot linking each of the 12.5 million rings by hand, and by the end of it, their fingerprints on their index and thumb fingers were totally gone.
I would not have traded this experience for the world. It has been the most amazing time of my life.
The Tolkien estate, and more specifically, J.R.R.'s son Christopher,
they probably met a bunch of motherfuckers, dude. Honestly, you probably do it too. Honestly, knowing what it turned out to be.
In over 40 years since his father's death, he explained how they eviscerated the book by making
they probably
it an
got mad
action
props
movie
from
for
all
young
the
people,
actors and
aged
shit. You know what I'm
15 to
saying?
25, and it seems that The Hobbit will be the same kind of film. As you can imagine, the Lord of the Rings trilogy had a wondrous effect on New Zealand tourism. There's even a wiki page on it called Tolkien Tourism.
Now he can commit crime without getting
caught. After the release of The Fellowship of the Ring, there was a 40% increase in tourism to New Zealand.
Or have a problem opening his iPhone.
2 decades later, 1 in 5 still cite the movies as a reason for visiting the country.
Oh, wow. 1 in 5 people.
8 of the 9 main cast members got matching tattoos to celebrate their time
Say
filming
they
the
visit
trilogy.
that country for that site.
They all got the number 9 in Elvish written on their bodies, except John Rhys Davies, who opted to send his double to get it instead of him. He explained that the Elvish tattoo was designed, but as I am a professional actor, whenever there's anything dangerous or that involves blood, I sent my stunt double to do it. Feeling left out, Peter Jackson got a tattoo of the number 10 in Elvish. Orlando Bloom found out just 2 days before he graduated from the Guildhall School of Music and Drama that Peter Jackson wanted to cast him as Legolas. He trained for 2 months to learn how to use a bow properly, and was amazingly only paid $175,000 for all 3 movies. Although
Wow!
He, of course, would do it all again in a heartbeat.
I mean, okay, listen, that's a steal. Don't get me wrong. They got a steal on him, right? But he wasn't shit before he got picked up. That's what his worth was. You know what I mean? That was probably more than his worth. You know what I mean? And then it set him up to be worth a fucking shitload. So listen, no one got scammed there, boys.
Sir Christopher Lee read The Lord of the Rings once every year until his death in 2015, and was the only member of the cast to have actually met Tolkien. Also, Sir Ian McKellen based Gandalf's voice on that of J.R.R. Tolkien's.
In a hole in the ground lived a hobbit.
So you mean to go through with your plan, then?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Amazon is making a television adaptation of Tolkien's Second Age era, and the show is already the most expensive season of television ever produced, coming in at a whopping $465 million. A second season has already been ordered and is in the works, meaning there will be a shorter wait time between seasons, which sounds a lot like how the movies played out. Areas of interest in the Lord of the Rings show include Numenor, the Misty Mountains, and the Elvish realm of Lindon. With something like this, you just hope they're faithful to the source material and put the same kind of effort and attention to detail
This is a somewhat
that the
recent
original
video.
trilogy did so well. But we will all have to wait and see till late 2021 when the show is set to be released.